Huge game for the Hoosiers taking on Nebraska tonight. We'll preview it in this episode. Let's get into it.
Watford 3 on the way. Oh!
Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. I am your residential anchor, Aaron. Thank you so much for being here and being part of this Indiana Hoosiers community and Colts community on here. We are growing super fast. I have a lot of stuff to get into today to talk about what Mike Woodson said in the press conference he had yesterday and what we have to look forward to playing Nebraska tonight at 8:30 at Assembly Hall. It is for the Hoosiers right now is, this is as a must-win game as it could possibly be because this team is just in doldrums. We are not favored in a game at home against Nebraska, and that's just about as bad as it gets. Tominagua, he is the one guy that we are going to have to get under wraps, and I'm sure I've just butchered his name. But this guy tore us up the first time, and our guards were completely ineffective. I was looking back that game. Xavier Johnson played in that game at Nebraska, and Galloway, they had just awful games. They had like four turnovers, 4 points to assist and turnover, whatever. It was really bad. I was just looking back at that. So they tore us up there. We need to get some revenge on these guys, and we should be a team that, looking back at when we were going to that game at Lincoln, Nebraska, back then we didn't know a lot about this team. I thought that was like one game we could really get from them. But now Nebraska is on the bubble. They're a team that has to win this game on the road. And what has happened to Indiana? This is not even a quad 1 road win for Nebraska now. This would be a quad 2 loss for Nebraska. And that's what's happening to Indiana. We're falling in these rankings. We're falling we're not even on the NIT bubble at this point. So we're not favored in these games. And these teams are coming in like Nebraska saying, hey, we should beat this Indiana team. And that's just not a good state of affairs for Indiana basketball. Thank you so much for being here. I am your residential anchor, Aaron. If this is your first time here, subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up button. It helps get this video out to more Hoosier fans so we can grow this Hoosier community on here. This is a very new channel, so subscribe, join the rocket ship. I am on my way to 500 subscribers, and you'll be entered to win home field apparel on this channel. And email me if you won the home field apparel. I'm just going to start using my email address because all of these things get so confusing, and I got so many comments and things coming in from different directions. So email me at weboyowza72@gmail.com. That's my email. If we get to 500 subscribers after this video, you will be entered to win home field apparel. I go through the comment section and I just draw a random person out of the comments on the video once we hit it. That's the easiest way to do it. I'm trying to make it easier for myself so I don't have to write out a bunch of things. Now that we got all of that out of the way, let's talk about basketball and let's talk about the Indiana Hoosiers. What is going to happen in this game tonight? We have to play tough defense on Tominagua. He is going to tear us up from the outside. I was just listening to Jim Coyle, and I don't think it's a bad idea to put Leal on this guy. I don't understand why Galloway is maybe our best defender, best perimeter defender. Cups is done an awful job going underneath screens and just not being able to stay glued to guys on the outside. He is a freshman, so that's going to be. So I don't know how we're going to guard this guy, but somebody's going to have to guard him. And if not, they are going to tear us up from the outside. For some reason, everybody that comes into Assembly Hall this year turns into you reincarnate Larry Bird, 1979 Indiana State, and just tears us up like no other. Just throwing in 3 balls from deep, doing it at Assembly Hall. It's embarrassing to watch. We got to get this game, and for a lot of reasons, this team is reeling. You can kind of see some of the last games that they're really starting to give up on themselves, and that's not a good thing. Mike Woodson and this team, they're not going to the NCAA tournament. They're not even going to the NIT. These guys are probably kind of sensing this season is not going that well. I was thinking about this earlier, what to compare this to. It feels a little bit like the Noah Vonleh year. And I went to watch that team at Madison Square Garden. That was one of the tournaments that Tom Crean played in at Madison Square Garden, which was an abysmal place to watch a college basketball game. I'm going to tell you, it was like half empty in there. I did talk to a lot of Indiana fans at it, but it felt like that season with Noah Vonleh, having him there as a one and done, kind of feels like this a little bit with Khalil Ware. Like, he's just a one and done guy, probably not going to come back to Indiana. At least I hope he doesn't. I don't think he really improves what we do going forward. I think Tom Crean learned something from that season with Noah Vonleh, and it's that if you're going to get players like Thomas Bryant was there for 2 years, that the one and done model for college basketball just doesn't work. If you got a guy in there for 1 year, how are you going to really produce any type of continuity within your team if you have one and done guys? It's really hard to do. I think that's why Indiana needs to focus on 4-year players, not these 5-star recruits. Need to focus on guys that are going to come in. Now, if you sprinkle in like a Khalil Ware and you had like a whole team of juniors and seniors, that would definitely work because you already have the base and the continuity there, and you're just adding like a piece here and a piece there. That was just some of my thoughts thinking about kind of like that season after Cody Zeller and them were gone. And, you know, that was kind of a letdown year, but we did have, he was a high level talent. I mean, and he's a good NBA player as well, but just for Indiana basketball, that situation did not really help us moving forward, having Noah Vonleh here, just as maybe this season is as well. But let's look. I have a few clips that Mike Woodson said in the press conference yesterday that I want to talk about. And then let's just roll one of the clips right now.
Point guard to go along with Xavier and Gallo. So we explored, we talked to different guys, and guys went to different, went other places based on they thought that was a better fit. So, we basically came into this season hoping like hell that X didn't get hurt and Gabe would get an opportunity to learn slowly. But that hadn't been the case. He's been thrown right out there.
So Woodson there talking about some of this roster construction. I mean, there's really no excuse for this. You're saying you went and talked to guys like you talked to guys you had your eye on, recruits, right? High level recruits that you wanted to come in. What we're not seeing or we're not even hearing at all is how to develop guys. Okay? I mean, I know I've harped on this over and over, but like, we don't recruit like Connor Esijan that plays over here. I mean, I know he's having a down year because he's got a back injury at Wisconsin, but that's a kid that would definitely come to Indiana. There are people that are playing basketball right here in Fort Wayne right now that would crawl over broken glass to play basketball at Indiana. You know what? I think part of the NBA mindset and the NBA mentality, and if you want to know more about why NBA coaches can't coach in college basketball, I made a different type of video yesterday, so check that out right here if you want to see that. I will tell you this, and anybody who's played sports at all different levels has come to this point. Sometimes you'll get to a point in college or a point somewhere when you're playing sports where people will look down their nose at you. And I think that's how Mike Woodson looks at players like Anthony Leal. Anthony Leal could not compare to any player that plays on the bench on an NBA team. Not even close. So how Mike Woodson doesn't get these things about college basketball. He doesn't understand about developing. And look, Leo, he never played under Archie Miller either, so I don't know what his deal is, but it's like, but there are other guys out there. There are guys like Connor Esijan that are good shooters at West Noble and then play at Wisconsin and have good years. There are guys like Luke Goody. These guys, there are tons of players like that would come to Indiana. They know that Indiana won't give them a second look, will they? And that's why they're not coming here, or that's why we're not even given the opportunity to come here. Braden Smith wanted to come to Indiana. Indiana didn't want him. Indiana didn't recruit him at all. Just a nobody in our eyes, right? Moving on, let's go to the next clip. Mike Woodson, here he is again, once again, in his most articulated ways, telling us about what's happening.
Best position possible. And, you try to go to guys that you think that can deliver. And, it's a mixture of things, not making shots, not making free throws, critical turnovers at critical times, not getting a key rebound. All of that is just newness, I think. This team, the last 2 years, didn't do that a lot of times. I mean, we were able to, if we jumped on the team, we were able to sustain it and play it all the way to the end and not play in spurts like we've had to do this season. And I just like to think as the years go by and we continue to grow, if we're able to keep everybody together, you won't have that. But we got 6 games left.
So talking about the team, why we can't play more than 5 minutes of good basketball at a time, or I think we played about 8 minutes of good basketball at Ohio State. That was the last time we actually played some good basketball for a period of time. The things he's saying very much to me sound like an NBA guy. Like, this guy's not shooting, this guy's not delivering. I want this guy to deliver this for me. That's just not, like, you have to set these guys up into certain shooting plays from the outside. You have to find out about them as people, really. That's what the main thing is. You got to think how much different the NBA and college is. You have kids in college that are just being away from home for the first time. If you imagine when you do that for the first time in your life, it is a very scary proposition. I mean, there's a lot out there. I mean, I know these guys have NIL money now and they have more than what kids had in the past, but it's still their age. They're still very immature kids. I'm just going to keep echoing this over and over unless we see a change in the game tonight. I mean, Mike Woodson, he has got to go. Look, I've had a few people in the comments that I, got rid of them that were attacking me over the video I made yesterday. Look, I want Indiana to win more than anybody. I don't want to sit here and bash the team. I want them to play well, and I want them to play good. Just because I'm being critical of them does not mean that I'm like trying to, I don't understand that at all. You know what? I mean, you got to be critical. That's just our way. And you know what? We learned to be this type of critical from watching years of good basketball under Bob Knight. He taught us to be critical because Bob Knight would go on the Bob Knight show. I used to watch that as a kid. It's like, and they would win a game, and the guy on there, which he always gave him a hard time, I can't think of his name. Bob Knight would always, even if they won a game by 10, like, that guy's not blocking out right there. Who cares if we won by 10? You're not doing your job. That's what this team needs to be focused on. They need to be focused on what your job is and limited roles for these players, not just like, you know what? What Mike Woodson wants, he wants Jalen Hood-Schifino to show up and just score 35 points so that he doesn't have to, coach or do anything else. It'll just all take care of itself. Well, now we suck at free throws. We don't rebound. And one of the other things he said, he purposely only sends 3 people at the offensive glass because he thinks the other 2 need to get back on defense. I didn't play that clip because he talks so slow. That's what his theory is. So he's only sending 3. Look back at the games. That should have been a red flag. Florida Gulf Coast, I look back at the stats. We were even in rebounding with them, 33-33, but they out-rebounded us on the offensive end by 6. That should have been a red flag that we weren't rebounding even against terrible teams back in those preseason type games, or, really like the crap games where you think you're going to blow teams out. Florida Gulf Coast, they were up on us and we were lucky to beat them by a few points. That should have been a red flag then. That's like, he's got to figure something out. Because if you don't rebound in the Big Ten, you don't rebound, you can't shoot free throws, and you don't block out, you're going to lose a lot of games by a few points for those reasons right there. I can't wait. Watch the game tonight. It's going to be a late one. I'm not going to do any live stream or anything. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Indiana Sports Connection. And until next time, stay classy out there, Hoosier fans.